Entering the 2020 hurricane season, Caribbean Alliance Insurances provides tips for disaster preparedness. Member of Parliament for the UP says the next step will be the United Nations. And a 17-year-old is shot in Belvedere. Those are the headlines for Wednesday, August 26, 2020. Good evening, viewers. This is SXM Daily News. I am Valerie Van Putten, thanking you so much for joining me this evening. And as usual, we have a packed newscast for you, so let's get started. In our first story, a 17-year-old teenager is now dead as a result of a shooting in Belvedere on Tuesday night. The unfortunate occurrence occurred around 7 p.m. close to the basketball court in the area. According to reports, the victim was involved in an argument with another person on a scooter, which eventually turned physical. The perpetrator is said to have left the scene but returned moments after. Following his return to the scene, it was reported that he fired several shots in the direction of the victim and, in the process, wounding the deceased in the face, who later succumbed as a result of the gunshot wound. The investigation is ongoing. For an insight into exactly what transpired, the Voice of St. Martin newsroom spoke to the interim police spokesman, Inspector Josefa.
Yesterday evening, the dispatch center received several calls concerning a shooting that took place in the Belvedere area. On the scene, the officers encountered a young man lying on the ground with a gunshot wound, slightly to the face. He was not giving any signs of life.
And this incident you're saying happened in Belvedere around what time, Inspector?
Yes, the first call came in about just shortly before 7 p.m. in the evening last night.
Has it been determined as to the cause of the shooting incident? Based on reports, they seemingly had an argument between two young men.
Yes, what we, like everyone else, what we gathered up to now is there was a discussion between the young gentleman and another person who was on a scooter. Up to now, we're not clear what the dispute was about, and the reason for the shooting is not clear yet.
The victim in question, how old is he?
The victim is supposed to be 17 years old.
Any arrests in this case, Inspector?
No, sir. There were a lot of witnesses, and we're requesting also for the public and those who were there to assist us with the information. You could do this anonymously also, but there were a group of people there when this thing took place, so we know there was enough witnesses who saw this happen.
Would that mean that the police probably have an idea as to who the perpetrator is?
I would like to hold on with that until further notice, because that's something that the detectives did not pass on to me as yet.
How soon do we expect an arrest in this case, Inspector?
Sir, I would like to answer that, but that has a lot of other things that goes on with it. We want to make sure before we even made an arrest that we're looking at the right person and for the right reasons.
The investigation undoubtedly is continuing. Based on the passing of the young man, 17-year-old, did he succumb to his injury on the scene, or was he transported to the medical center?
No, sir. When we arrived on the scene, together with the ambulance, they looked at the gentleman, and he was already deceased on the scene.
And you said that the gunshot wound was to his face?
Yes. According to what we got up to now, it was one gunshot wound to the face.
SXM Daily News extends our condolences to the relatives and friends of those who are left to mourn. In other news, the St. Martin Bankers Association, headed by its president, Mr. Derek Downs, was called to Parliament on August 25th to explain the extensions of the moratorium on loans for their business and personal clients. Another agenda point that was discussed in Parliament was the measures that the bank is taking to assist the community. Mr. Downs expounded further.
We will be extending the moratorium for the months of September, October, and November for our personal clients. For our business clients, we are also offering the opportunity for them to participate in the moratorium. However, we will be assessing our business cases on a case-by-case basis. So My account management team has already been in contact with many of their clients to determine if they would want the payment moratorium, and going through with them what information they would need to provide that we can put a request together and make a decision on such requests. The agenda point also includes other measures that the bank is taking to assist the community. Many of our businesses, we have provided working capital assistance to tide them over during this very difficult time. We have restructured loans for individuals. We have restructured loans for our commercial clients. So not only providing them with additional monies from a working capital point of view, but also providing relaxed payment terms because there's some personal clients who they still want to pay something to their loan. They did not want to participate in the moratorium, but they didn't want to make the full payment. So we put them on plans like interest only, that they can, make payments. There were some people whose family household had reduced income, and in thinking for the future, we have restructured some loans for individuals. So these are some of the things that we as banks are doing within the community to assist our clients. I know that the NRPB, in conjunction with the World Bank, is introducing a small and medium-sized enterprise program to assist individuals out there who would like help with their business, their small business. And the Rhode Islands Bank is a partner in this program. So we encourage those who would like working capital assistance or they need funds to purchase assets. As a small business, you can contact us. You can contact the NRPB. I know that First Caribbean International Bank is participating in the program. Credits is participating in the program. So the banks are joining forces with the NRPB, with the World Bank, with credits to provide small businesses with the opportunity out there to raise capital to assist them in moving their businesses along.
And in more news for you at this time, Minister of Tourism, the Honorable Ludmila de Weaver, answered a number of questions from reporters at the Council of Ministers' weekly virtual press briefing earlier today. One of the questions that the minister was asked about was the closure of businesses and the Simpson Bay vendors, and if they are respecting the 10 p.m. closing time. The minister also expounded.
The reason a separate MB had to be made for the parking lot, the Simpson Bay vendors, the marketplace, is because they were created in a separate regulation and under a separate legislation, which they should know well because it was unceremoniously done so. So it was not an issue of whether or not they were not respecting the 10 p.m. Closure. It's that they had the rules that we had in place to allow businesses to close at 10 p.m. didn't apply to them. So we had to make a separate regulation for them. And unfortunately, I have two of them that are my childhood friends that didn't call me to ask me about it before they sensationalized the news. But one of the vendors actually called me as well over the weekend to clarify whether or not that was the case. And because we did it a day after, so that's why we had to retroactively backdate it. But it is temporary. It is until August 31st. And actually, I had a meeting with the Minister of VSL last night to clarify whether or not how the measures are going to hopefully be able to allow businesses to reopen. But that is really, really heavily dependent on the public obeying and following the rules and doing the social distance. In my conversation with doctors, that's the most important thing, is the social distance and the mask. So I really hope we can go. And from day one, everyone knows that I'm the one promoting businesses and fighting to have the airports open so that we can have businesses. So it would be the last thing that I would want to do as the Minister of TIAT. But I hope I've clarified it. So the minute that we decide August 31st is our time to reopen the regular hours, then they will fall under it as well with the same separate legislation to regulate them.
And still to come, Member of Parliament for the UP says the next step will be the United Nations. And I'll have the details to that story and more when SXM Daily News returns.
GEBE has been faithfully serving the communities of St. Martin, powering your home and our economy. Come rain or shine, our qualified team of professionals are working hard 24 hours a day to provide you and your family with safe, reliable electricity and water. We use the latest technologies and test our products daily to maintain the highest international standards. Our friendly staff is always there to assist you, whether in person, over the phone, or online. We are committed to constantly improving our products and services, making them more efficient, effective, and environmentally friendly to serve you better today and our next generation of clients tomorrow. GEBE, powering a brighter future.
Our friend Megawati is here with tips to save you energy. 1. Turn your airco temperature up. 2. Use a ceiling fan instead. 3. Buy energy-saving products. Save some green with NVGEBE.
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching SXM Daily News, and I am Valerie von Putten. As we continue now with more news, as we are entering the peak of the 2020 hurricane season, SXM Daily News will be doing a hurricane preparedness series to teach and inform the community about what to do before, during, and after a hurricane. In the first segment, we will discuss with branch manager at Caribbean Alliance Insurances, Miss Cynthia Rothberg, what we should have done before the hurricane season even started.
It's always best as a homeowner, you sit with the family and strategize a plan. Set out a plan, what to do before, during, and after. And also have a plan B should there be unexpected or unforeseen situations. So that is the start. The next preparation to do before the season, actually, you have to check with a contractor, a reputable contractor, and have him check your roof for any probable leaks, see if there are loose things, if you have a sink roof, if it's nailed, if all nails are in, or should you put more nails, screws.
Are better.
Screws are always better. If you should add more screws, check your windows, if everything is good, your hurricane shutters. So your doors, your locks, if everything is working properly. That's the start.
Okay. Okay.
So, and after that, then you will prepare emergency bag. You prepare your documents, put them in a plastic bag, a sealed plastic bag. You have those, how they call them, the freezer bags.
Right,
or,
Ziploc bags.
Ziploc bags. So you put all your important documents in a Ziploc bag. If you have a copy of your policy, that will help, will come in handy should something happen. So that is one of the items, and then you prepare your bag. You put blankets, batteries. If you have those wind-up radios, portable radios, make sure your prescription medication is done. You have everything prepared, and also medication, painkillers, that you have all of that prepared. Canned food, non-perishable items, utensils, plastic if possible. And yeah, those are the basic items that you should prepare.
And we will have more with Ms. Cynthia Rothberg of Caribbean Alliance Insurances about disaster preparedness in tomorrow's edition of SXM Daily News. The Permanent Committee of Kingdom Affairs and Interparliamentary Relations, which met on Tuesday, August 25th, 2020, and was held in a virtual setting, the agenda point that was discussed was the draft Consensus Kingdom Law Caribbean Reform Entity as presented by the Dutch government and possible steps by Parliament to present a position to the other countries in the Kingdom. The meeting, which was requested by MP Sarah Westcott-Williams, weighed in on the relationship between the Dutch Kingdom partners, and Mrs. Westcott-Williams questioned whether Parliament should just accept what is there on the table and see where it ends up, or we decide to take specific actions. She elaborates.
The question is whether Parliament should just accept what is there on the table and see where it ends up, or we decide to undertake specific action. One of the proposals that I made was to have exactly and then formal tripartite consultations on how we move forward as parliaments. Is there even a basis to move forward as parliaments together? The three parliaments, namely of Aruba, Curacao, and St. Martin. So in essence, I put the question now, haven't heard from you, Mr. Chairman. I put a question to yourself and those who have participated in these informal discussions. Have any consensus been arrived at from these discussions? Because if so, I can tick off the proposal to have tripartite discussions. Question number one. Question number two, which relates to question number one, would then be, again, what is the proposal collectively from a tripartite basis going forward? So I would like to hear that answer, Mr. Chairman, and allow me to then interject here, because an important part that I don't have, and I don't know which other members have, is where does the government stand right now? In the media, at least, the status of Aruba and Curacao, I haven't been able to get a firm grasp of it. Of course, I have seen the motions by Parliament, etc. But how does that align with what the government is doing? As far as St. Martin is concerned, it has gone a little quiet on that front. So again, so is it still necessary for us to formally meet as three countries on a parliamentary level? And then would then a decision be to take it to the four parliaments of the kingdom, which is also part of the proposal that I made. Just this morning, Mr. Chairman, the several members of parliament have put forward a request for a meeting with several ministers to discuss several issues regarding St. Martin. Currently, what's the situation? And I think it would have been a good thing, now looking at it, that such a meeting would have been called for us then as Parliament to decide what it is that we can do with respect to this matter on the table. One of the important items mentioned in that request for that meeting, and of course every member who signed on can give his or her own perspective, but is the financial situation of this country. And again, I don't have that information because that would indicate how urgent it is to come to a decision, to come to an understanding about the way forward and this Caribbean reform entity in particular.
And Member of Parliament for the UP, the Honorable Keisha Heiliger Martin, also feels that the Kingdom is meddling in St. Martin's affairs. The MP says that we must look at the facts. The facts, according to Mrs. Heiliger Martin, is that our Parliament unanimously denounced the entity. The fact remains that Curacao and Aruba also denounced the entity. So what is next? Mrs. Heiliger Martin says that government does have plans, and she expounded further on those plans.
Let's look at the facts. I'm not going to revisit and go over what everyone has already made clear. The fact remains is that our Parliament unanimously denounced the entity. Fact remains that Curacao and Aruba also denounced the entity. So what's next? Because Holland is now telling us it's this way or no other way. This is what we want to give you, and we're not changing our mind. So you can't say that government don't have plans. We have plans, but are the laws there to allow us to execute the plans? That's the question you need to ask yourself. I could tell you right now, Minfin, our minister, Minister Arion, he has a plan. He has plans in place. Plan B is being executed, but are the laws permitting him to execute these plans? So what's next? As MP Marlin, Mr. Chair, earlier stated, we had an informal meeting with our colleagues yesterday. And the next move right now is, okay, we are completely against the entity, but what's next? Time to show a united front. So we're busy compiling a letter. This letter will be addressed in Parliament so that everyone in Parliament can review it and see if they stand by this letter. This letter will be signed by the Parliament. They will be backed by the Parliament of St. Martin, Aruba, and Curacao. Every Parliament will go through, will view this letter and see if they stand by this letter and pass this letter. This letter will be then sent and addressed to the RMR and the Tweede Kamer. And in this letter, vaguely, I can say right now, in this letter, we will say, listen, either you stop your takeover efforts of our democracy or allow us or grant us permission to seek our own financial means. Either way, because if you're not going to change, either you stop that and work with me as partners or allow me to really seek my own financial. This is what COVID right now, right, is testing St. Martin's true measure of self-governance. This right now is testing our faith. Are we truly governing ourselves or are they governing us? And are we going to allow them to do that? This is the true testament now, St. Martin. We need to now come together. Send this one last letter, this one last push, send it to them and see what their answers would be. I could tell you, I'm not a fortune teller, but I can tell you, they might even denounce it. And if so, what's next? What's going to be our next move? And what have I been saying over and over and over? Tell us no. Tell us we can't borrow no more. Tell us only your way or highway. I want to hear Holland tell Aruba, Curacao, and St. Martin that. Tell it to us, please, in writing. And I will take that information, and the next step is the United Nations.
Now, turning to our weather forecast for August 26, 2020. An approaching moisture surge associated with a weak tropical wave will increase the probability of showers by this evening, after which a more stable and hazy atmosphere will settle over the region. Meanwhile, the Atlantic high-pressure system will maintain mostly gentle winds before increasing on Thursday. Seas are expected to remain slight to moderate during the next few days. So the outlook through Friday midday, partly cloudy, breezy, and hazy. Now, let's turn to your 3-day forecast. And still to come, Member of Parliament for National Alliance says we cannot accept the proposal being forced on us. And I'll have the details to that story and much more when SXM Daily News returns.
Make use of WIB mobile banking with easy access and direct usage of face recognition, PIN code, or fingerprint. Download WIB mobile banking app and make your transaction from anywhere at any time. For more information, visit wib-bank.net/quick-login.
And welcome back, viewers. You are watching SXM Daily News, and I'm Valerie Van Putten. As we continue now with more news, the Member of Parliament for the National Alliance, Ludmila Solange Duncan, speaking on the program in the Breakfast Lounge with Lady Grace, which aired on PJD3 Radio on Tuesday, August the 25th, the Member of Parliament was asked about the relationship with our Kingdom partners and St. Martin and the decisions that are being made for us.
So for me, I was not surprised about it. But I think that it is an entity, the way in which it was proposed, that we cannot accept, because it definitely tramples on our autonomy and our sovereignty. Because if we are a country, a so-called autonomous country within the kingdom, then how is it that bureaucrats from the Netherlands can come and say, okay, it's our money, this is how we are going to spend the money, and we are going to make decisions for this country. Mm-hmm. Decisions on education, on the environment, on the economy. We are going to make those decisions for you because we cannot trust you. I think it's a step backwards, and for me, it's unacceptable, honestly.
And government
And
has
so,
unanimously denounced.
yes, so I am proud of both the government and the parliament for saying no. We made a counter proposal. We knew that a counter proposal would not be accepted. But the way forward is us finally standing on our own and saying, you know what, we are going to be in charge of our own destiny. But you have to give us the space to do that. You have to give us the space and the ability to do that. Because for years, honestly, the CFT is another organization. We've wanted to make capital investments, but couldn't. Why? Because these are the rules, and you cannot move outside of this box.
Right.
But we are trying to build something in this country that you are stopping us from doing. And so then what is our relationship then in the kingdom? What is it really that we are? Are we not an autonomous country? Do you make the decisions for us?
A house without furniture.
So so for me, and we see that the three other islands the two other islands have said or have struggled with it as well. Because on the one hand, we need financial assistance, but on the other hand, you're asking the countries to give up a lot.
And still to come, 2 separate arrests made for suspicion of stolen vehicles. We'll have the details to that story when SXM Daily News returns. And welcome back, viewers. And as we end this edition of SXM Daily News for you this evening, the KPSM Police Patrol was directed to the Bush Road area on Tuesday evening, August the 24th, 2020, for what the dispatcher described as a suspected vehicle that had been reported stolen, and it was spotted. While patrolling on the Bush Road, the officers spotted the vehicle driving and ordered the driver to stop. While controlling the VIN on the white Hyundai Grand i10, it was evident to the officers that numbers had been tampered with. The driver with the initials RD was immediately arrested and the vehicle was confiscated. The suspect was brought to the police station in Phillipsburg, where he is being held for questioning. In a separate arrest also made on the same night at approximately 8:40 p.m., the man with the initials BCKEJ appeared at a police station requesting that police release his vehicle that was impounded by the police earlier in the day. The owner of the vehicle was requested to show the documentation proving ownership of the vehicle. While inspecting the VIN, officers became aware that the number had been tampered with. BCKEJ was arrested and is being held at the station pending further investigation. The vehicle, which was a blue Hyundai Accent, was confiscated. And on Tuesday morning, August the 25th, 2020, around 9 a.m., the personnel of the detective department arrested a man with the initials DCMJ in the area of K Hill. An arrest warrant was issued for the suspect in connection with ill treatment that took place at the beginning of the month. And with that, viewers, we've come to the end of this edition of SXM Daily News for this evening. I am Valerie Van Putten, thanking you so much for joining me. And just a reminder that this and other programs are available online. Simply log on to stmartinmediacenter.com for viewing. And on behalf of the SXM Daily News team, we thank you for watching and plan on meeting you right back here again tomorrow.